Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I'm Willie Lightfoot,
And I am Lovely Warren.
and this is the Love and Light podcast where we talk about things that people don't talk about enough or don't talk about nearly at all. And today's show, episode 57, is the power of local elections and who really runs your community. We had to do a part two to the last show.
Yeah, I think that is very important that people really understand why participating in voting is important. Like we see a lot of turnout during presidential elections, right? This coming year, meaning in 2026, we have local elections, right? And
Yes.
so we have a number of congressional seats that's up. We have statewide seats that's up. We have local state legislature seats that's up, and district attorney is running as well. So there's a lot that's going on locally here,
right? And local elections absolutely matter. But we always do a love lifting segment where we like to lift up people or things that we love. And in this particular love lifting segment, we want to honor poll workers, election volunteers. Before we get into all the data, and we want to shout out to those poll workers, those precinct captains or those district captains, those volunteer canvassers, those people, the election board workers. And I think it says over 775,000 poll workers serve across the United States every election cycle. And some, if not many, are unpaid. And they're volunteers. They come in, or they're paid very little to work. And we just want to lift those people up that are, and those that are canvassing, working on the people's elections and volunteering. We both know.
Listen, it takes time
and people. Resources
and money, right?
Amen.
And so definitely want to thank all those people that volunteer, but also those that work, because it is really a daunting task to run elections and to become an elected official, period.
That's right. The average poll worker age is 60. So a lot of our seniors find themselves doing this type of work. We were looking for, and I'm sure that they would appreciate having younger voters, but we know that 18 to 25 voting population is one that we're trying to really encourage to get engaged in the whole voting process. Democracy doesn't run itself. It runs on people who show up.
Right.
So if you've ever worked a poll site, you've ever knocked on the door, we see you. We honor you, and we're saying big up to you and thank you for what you're doing, because, again, democracy doesn't run itself. It's run by people who are showing up, and there are those that are working out there who are showing up year after year, time after time, that help to understand the importance of voting and democracy.
Absolutely. And as we talk about that and lift up our poll workers and our folks that are the boots on the ground, we definitely want to shift and start talking about what is happening locally.
Yes.
There's a lot going on nationally. We hear about it every day. And a lot of people are paying attention to what's happening nationally, and they're not necessarily paying attention to these local elections.
Yes, and these local elections matter significantly. We got to look at who's actually controlling your community, who's actually controlling what's happening when we think about school boards. Just recently, there was a major school board, and it wasn't a regular city or local school board election, but there were county school board elections that were happening all over the counties, and they were voting on budgets for school boards all over the various school districts around the county, in this particular county of Monroe. And this may be happening in your community as well. And these elections matter. This is the education of your children, of our babies, of our children. And we need to understand, first of all, who are these people?
Right. There's over 500,000 elected officials.
That's a lot.
Over 500,000.
Right. But do we know just the one who represents you? That's the homework assignments. That's the homework assignment for anyone listening to this podcast. Who represents you on all levels, on the federal level, on the county level, on the state level, for your school district, where it doesn't matter what district you live in, you have somebody that's over your school district. Your town, if maybe you don't live in a city, you live in a town, same thing there. You have people who are representing you on your town boards, etc. Who are these people? You ought to know as a taxpayer, as a resident of your community, you ought to know who the people are that are controlling and making decisions that affect your quality of life every single day.
And and I think that when you find out who, you also need to find out what do they do and what do they control, right?
That's right.
And so you often hear, I see so many times, right, that oh, the mayor or the mayor, and the mayor literally has nothing to do with control of,
The school
like
district.
let's say the schools, right? The mayor doesn't control the schools.
That's
Not
right.
here in Rochester, New York.
Or the
right?
jails, or the county jails, or the
Right.
state jails,
Right.
which impact people's lives all the time. We used to, as a council person, I would get, and I know you as a mayor, you probably got calls from constituents who family member was incarcerated.
Or social services.
Yeah, or social service, because we don't city doesn't handle anything with the county, vice versa, and the county don't handle things with the city. So as you were saying, not only are knowing these people, but knowing what are their job titles and their responsibilities, and what are they responsible for.
Yeah. So when we say that the count, like social services, the county executive in the county of Monroe, they oversee social services that encompasses the city. There are a lot of things that the county oversees that encompasses the city that the mayor doesn't have any control over at all, right? And people, like to lay things at the mayor's feet, but at the end of the day, at many times, he's responding to or having to deal with other elected officials that may control that particular issue.
Prime example of, just here recently, locally in Rochester, we had a situation where there was kids and fighting and the various things going on. And one particular situation was at a particular park that's county ran park. It wasn't a city ran park. Right. But we see the mayor.
County ran park, a county run event,
Yes.
so.
But the mayor, I'm sure, phone ringing off the hook. Council members, I'm sure, because it's perceived as being in the city.
Right.
But oftentimes, if we don't know how things are.
The same thing at the beach.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of those particular incidences happened in county-run facilities or in their area. However, they were located in the city of Rochester, and people presume that the people that were involved in the activity were from the city of Rochester. Therefore, it fell on the mayor's. It was the mayor's responsibility for people to say he responded. But at the end of the day, those particular areas were, especially the beach, it's county run, it's county controlled, but the city's police officer, the police department is there as well to support. The same thing with the Lilac Festival and what happened there. The city's police officers and team are there to support. At the end of the day, I think that much of this has to do with a failed educational system, right? Because if children are being supported and educated the way that they need to be, then I don't think that those children that were out there were the ones that were doing well in school.
So this episode 57, we're talking today about the power of local elections and who's really running your community. So when we talk about that, and we're digging deep, and we can say, a lot of people want to point fingers when we look at these various systems, right? But at the end of the day, we got to understand, and what Lovely's saying is, we got to understand these systems that are failing, but who's actually responsible for these things. So when we look at that and we really start to dig deep into that, we got to understand that when we look at for Rochester, for example, and many communities run the same way, city council votes, school board decisions, county legislatures, they're shaping our daily life. 50 vote margins can change school board, 200 vote margin can flip a city council seat.
Right.
Hundreds of votes
because turnout,
right?
Because people don't necessarily vote. And so if these issues are important to you, like there was a big issue that just came up recently with with city council and charter schools. There's a big issue that came up with the school board and, of course, the school board budget vote.
Yep.
You know, these things came down to one person, right? You know, 4-3, 5-4, you know, or 6-3.
That's right.
Because when it comes down to selling property, you need in the city council, you need a super majority. So those are the things that people have to understand and pay attention to. Who are, you know, who's voting to support your issues that matter to you most. And if people are not voting to support the issues, what are you going to do about it?
Let's talk about turnout, because you just mentioned turnout, and you know, both of us can really relate to turnout because we've been on both sides of it.
Yes.
We've been on sides where turnout was record numbers, and we both won in turnouts at huge numbers because of huge turnout, and then we both been on the side of losses where low turnout, record number of people not voting. Right. So turnout it matters, right? So when we talk about turnout, the average local election turnout ranges between 15 to 27% versus 60% in presidential election years. Now, this is what I don't understand. I get it. I think I'm asking a question that I may know answer to already, but I want to ask you, why is presidential years so higher? Why do people see that so much more important than when we're talking about local elections now, when we may never see a president? You may never run into a president. You may never have a chance to talk to a president. But then here, your local elections, you can see your mayor, you can see your city council people, your school board people, etc. But then we don't want to turn out and vote in those local elections, but they vote as almost double digits higher during presidential elections.
Well, I think that it has a lot to do with visibility, right? People, they often see the president on TV speaking to issues. People believe that the president controls more of the issues that go to their daily life, right? So many, the highest voting population is our seniors, right? So our seasoned folks, and what matters to them? Social Security, right? Ensuring that the money that they put into the system is being returned to them in their Social Security. What matters to them? Their health care. And who controls that? The president, right? So that's not controlled on a local level, and therefore I believe that those issues that matter to people, that people vote when they have an issue that speaks to them to vote for, or they have a candidate or a person that speaks to them, and they come out and they vote for that. And so, you know, there's multiple issues or reasons why people might feel the way that they feel and not vote in non-presidential years. But I think that a lot of it has to do with the issues that are being talked about and the issues that speak to them personally.
So who's really running our cities, our communities, our lives? And we're looking at from federal on down. But I'm looking at some of these stats. In some of these cities, school board races are decided by fewer than 500 votes.
Right. Communities
of color often have the lowest local turnout, yet have the highest stake in outcomes.
Yeah.
So the ballot is the most democratic tool that we have, but we keep leaving it on the table.
Right. It's
how are we especially people of color, right? We look in our communities, we look at the poverty, we look at the zip codes, we look at the demographics of a lot of our neighborhoods, and this is across America, right? But in these same neighborhoods, I promise you that when you look at the voting turnout and the voting participation in most of the neighborhoods who are run down, who don't have adequate resources, the housing issues are poor in other areas in the same community, I promise you, when you look at the voting demographics of that community, that those voter demographics are extremely low.
You're right. I don't deny that. That's what the statistics and the numbers say, but I think that there's, various reasons why that's the case. And many people have, voter apathy, right? They believe that their vote doesn't matter. They believe that no matter what they do, their life is not going to be changed by who they vote for, right? And, some people have been, let down right? And so you have that. You also have a situation where people, it's not on their radar, right? And when I say it's not on their radar, if I'm thinking about feeding my children, picking them up from school, going to work, doing all those things, the last thing on that day I'm thinking about is voting, right?
Right.
And that is the reason why, at one point in time, you only had one day that
well,
you
that's
could
what
vote,
I was just getting ready to say.
right?
But now you got, 11 days. You
Right.
got 10 days of early voting,
Right.
which you can vote almost anywhere in the whatever the designated sites are. So it can be very convenient for you, as opposed to on election
Anywhere.
day,
Right.
you can only go to where your designated poll site is.
Right.
But during early voting, and now they're extended absentee voting significantly, where you can actually vote by mail even more. So it's more lenient than it's ever been.
So you're saying that there's
There's no
excuse.
There's no excuse not to vote, but we're still seeing very significantly record number lows of voting turnout. But then people want to complain about situations and circumstances that are happening in their lives. And for me, I feel like if you're not voting, you can't complain. That's just the way I feel.
At the end of the day, people are going to complain, and they're
Sure.
not going, and many people are not going to vote. If you can see, if you see, and you hear what's going on today, right? If you see and you hear what's going on today, and you don't go out and vote this year, there is something seriously wrong with you, and also your ability to understand how these local elections are playing itself out federally. Now, think about this. On January 6th in 2021 or 2020, right? Rioters went into the Capitol, tore it up.
People died.
People died. Officers died, right? Our president just found a loophole
Yes.
in the law, in this fund,
To give
created
them money.
a fund, a 1.6 billion dollar fund, right? To pay these people
who have
that literally went in and tore up the Capitol, killed officers, and all of that.
and by definition, our racial organizations are like,
Right. And so people want to talk about BLM and that movement and all that other stuff, but think about it. The same thing happened, right?
yes.
Different issue, but we're, as a country, may be on the hook to pay these people that really were insurrectionists. Insurrectionists, meaning that they were trying to overthrow our government. That was their goal, to overthrow our government and the election, to not ensure that President Biden, was seated. That was their goal, to stop him from being seated as the president of the United States, even though he won the election.
Now we can go into a whole. we about to go down a whole nother rabbit hole, because that leads me into thinking about the '60s and the stuff, the civil rights movement, the Black Panthers, how they blew up whole cities as a result of a movement of people who were just trying to help their community.
But bro,
they weren't. They, you know what I mean?
Think about this. Black folks can't get anything
That's what I'm saying.
pertains to reparations.
This is my point. My point is
We
not
ain't
only
even trying to overthrow the government.
not only can't we get reparations or get anything. Every time we tried to organize on our own to even help our own, it was demolished by the government.
Right, but and these people didn't even ask for
and then
this.
now these people, to your point, are trying to overthrow the government, and then now we can give them our tax dollars to help them do it.
Our tax dollars.
It's absolutely insane.
In talking about paying them a fund,
Right.
$1.6 billion, and there is technically very little that we as citizens can do about it unless you start to vote in local elections.
That's right.
This year.
Now,
your congressional representatives and your senators are running.
Yes. So
this year.
Episode 57, the power of the local elections. Who's really running your community? It should be us, the people. You have the voice. Register. Make sure you go out and vote. Again, we want to say, so when we say, all right, what's next, or what is our call to action? Our call to action, the homework was find out all of your representatives who represent you, number one, from wherever you live and whatever your local jurisdiction is. Find out who represents you. Find out who's running in those congressional races, those state races, those local school board races and town boards and things of that nature. This year, also start doing your research on the midterm elections and what's to come. We say big up to Keisha Bottoms, who won a major primary in Georgia. They had a huge, over 1 million people came out to vote in that election. Just shows you that voting matters, and that going out and exercising your vote makes a difference. So turnout matters. Make sure you get registered. Register your children that are old enough to start registering, start having these conversations with your children about how these things impact. And then also, how part of the extra credit for that homework is to make sure not only do you find out who these people are, but as Lovely said, find out what their responsibilities are and what their roles are and how that impacts you.
Absolutely. And I would say, even if your children are not old enough to vote, take them with you as you go vote. So that this is passed on from generation to generation. You know, I was listening to, Baber AME Church, Pastor Simmons had a forum. His social justice committee had a forum with candidates, and I was listening to the forum. It was really insightful. So if you have some time, I would go and listen to that. You know, there's some powerful sisters. There's some powerful, talk and some things that was talked about at that forum. Everybody wasn't there, but for those that was there, listen to what they have to say and make your own informed decision. But one of the candidates was talking about what their mother said and what their mom taught them. And she said, the power of the vote, your vote, it doesn't matter your income. It's the only time where you are equal across the board with a billionaire is when you walk into that voting booth. It's not about your income. It's not about your stature. It's not about your job. It's one man or woman and one vote. And if you do not understand what is happening right before your eyes in the last 2 years, understand me now. They've taken away diversity, equity, and inclusion. They have taken away and turned our history upside down, rewrote history before our eyes, fired many people for no reason at all, taking away our health care. Many of our seniors right now in families that need health care, taking it away. And now you're trying to pay people that tried to overthrow the government over $1 billion.
I gotta stop right here. We got a break right here. She's going into, listen, you gotta catch the next episode. We're gonna keep this conversation going because it's so important. It's so important. Episode 57, Love and Light Podcast. God bless you until we see you again. Do that homework. Make sure when we come back, we want to hear we're gonna hear hopefully some of our folks like, share, follow, put in the comments. We want to hear your comments about this. This is a very serious topic, and our quality of life is on the line.
On the line. Stay lovely and stay lifted.
God bless you.